Now I've already removed the stereo from the other car. On this end here is actually the wiring harness that goes to the CD player, and this one here is actually from the plug-and-play setup that actually plugs into the existing wiring harness on the previous vehicle I pulled this from. Now what I did before is I actually used these crimp connectors, and you don't need any solder or nothing like that. Basically what it is a steel tube with a plastic casing on the outside, and what you do after is you put the wires on each side, and you just take, I used a pair of side cutters before, but there's actually special crimpers we use to crimp these. But what happens after a while is the connections actually get loose, and you'll actually have problems within the stereo itself. Now I'm looking for a loose connection here, but I can't seem to find nothing. Actually, one here from previously I actually pulled out, it was loose. So you can sort of see inside there that it used to be round and now it's sort of an oval shape, and that's what actually clamps onto the wire. These are not a watertight seal. Now what I will be doing is actually cutting the wires off here, cutting all these connectors off, restripping all the wires, and then actually soldering the joints instead. And you can either cover them with electrical tape or heat shrink, but in my case I actually got some colored heat shrink to match some of the wire color, so it looks a lot cleaner. Now after I'm done cutting the wires off the other vehicle harness, you should have something that looks like this. Now I've already started stripping the wires here. Now you can use either side cutters to cut and strip the wires, or I have actually one of these special wire cutter and strippers. As you can see here, there's the holes, and what these are used for is stripping the casing on the wires. So you want to basically do is figure out the size of wire you have, stick it in one of the holes. Now I usually like to leave about a half an inch of exposed wire for soldering, or maybe a little bit less for using solderless connectors, the crimp connectors. And you close it, and then pull back like that, and there you have it. It's a nice clean cut, and none of the wires are cut in the inside. Now when using side cutters, you have to be careful when stripping the wires, because there's a possibility you can cut one of these individual copper wires there. Now if you already have bought the stereo brand new, or if you get the plug and play harness for your vehicle, remember the wires already come pre-stripped, but you just have to pull the casing off. As you can see there, that the casing is already cut, you just have to pull it off, and that's it. Now when you purchase your wiring kit from the store, for if you're adding one of these plug and play connectors into your car, on the back of the package, or it should have instructions inside on what each wire means. Now from my experiences, the wiring will actually say right on it what it means. So the brown here will be mute, the gray with the black stripe will be right front, negative for the speaker, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now on the stereo harness itself, it'll also show in the manual what each wire means. Now some of them do say on the sides of the wire what the wire is used for, or they will have little tabs like this on them that say what the wire is for. And in most cases, as you can see here, I have a gray, and a gray with no stripe, a gray with a black stripe, a white with no stripe, and a white with a black stripe. And if I go back, the harness, the plug and play harness for the vehicle, as you can see, the same thing. So white with a black stripe. Here's white right there. Gray, gray with a black stripe, and so on and so forth. And simply what you do is you just basically color code all the wires together and connect them. Well, I have finished my soldering job on my wiring harness here. When I went to the stereo shop to buy the plug for it, they actually gave me the wrong one. What it lists in their computer is actually completely different than what it's supposed to be. So this is one off of older model Volkswagen, which works fine. Now, considering this is a 2004 Volkswagen, the onboard computer actually transmits a signal to your stereo. This is called the K-line wire. Depending on your model, it also depends where it is. For my basic stereo here, it's actually on my black plug. And originally, there was actually 3 pins each way. What I actually did is I removed the pin out of the K line. I will provide a link to it down below on my information on my video. And I relocated that to the side here, and I actually used that for a remote wire for my antenna. Now here's a special antenna wire you do need. I already have it hooked up. Now this is not a booster line here for the antenna. What this is actually is using the booster itself on the factory antenna. Now possibly you can use just an ordinary antenna wire similar to this one, which I have on my other car, but I thought I'd buy the right equipment so wouldn't have to jeopardize any reception. Now for the antenna wire, you can add that into your black harness just like I did here. Now when you do purchase it, it does come with a female steel clip on the end of it. It's the same as your stock wiring. Now what you want to do is you want to take this little yellow tab here. It's actually a retaining clip that goes throughout the whole inside of the plug itself. Take a flat screwdriver and just simply pry it back about a 1/4 inch, and that should be just enough to put the wire in. Snap it back down and you should be good to go. Now after you're done hooking everything up, all the wiring harnesses here, I would advise you to just do a test run on your stereo to make sure everything works, because you don't want to be pulling everything apart again and having to troubleshoot it. It's a lot easier the first time. Now if you remember before, on the back of the stock stereo, it has actually this little rubber tab which unscrews. Now what you want to do is take that rubber tab and transfer it to your aftermarket stereo. Now what this does is basically hold the back of the stereo level and just sort of keeps it in the slot from popping out. Also, I'd like to make note, if you're installing a custom stereo, this plate around it is actually a square housing, and your stereo actually fits inside that. Now you can remove it if you have an aftermarket stereo. There should be little tools similar to what I showed you before on the factory deck to remove it. Now you can install this little piece first, and what you do to hold your stereo in here is actually bend these tabs outwards so it actually locks it in place. Now I don't bother doing this usually because I end up switching stereos through the vehicles I own, so it actually makes it more of a hassle to get the stereo out. Now when placing this deck in your dash, you do want to pre-feed the extra long wire down inside somewhere, usually through the bottom or the top. You don't want the wire binding up behind the stereo itself, because you will have problems trying to push it in. Now after everything's in place, you install your trim around your stereo and your faceplate back on, and everything should be good to go. Now I also want to make another note that when you're pushing your stereo in, it is wise to take your faceplate off, because it is fairly fragile for what it is, and you don't want to be cracking the faceplate at all. And there you have it, your new custom stereo in your car. Thank you.